Okay, what's up, cat adjusters? So I promise you guys a full webinar that shows kind of everything from from start to finish, but what you can expect when you show up at the orientation on the cat side on one of these big deployments, whether or not you got sent to, or you get to stay on Florence or not. You know, you can still use this for any of the major events that you might get sent on. From that point all the way until you are wrapping up with the customer, how you negotiate with contractors. Pretty much going to go through the whole thing, just kind of hitting the high points. I'm going to go kind of fast, and I wanted to do this live, but I have to record it because there's just too much to cover. There's just too many parts. I'm going to show you some stuff in Xactimate and Xactanalysis. I'm going to talk about a whole lot of stuff, and it's going to take me a while, and I want to be sure that I'm not wasting your time. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So what can you expect when you show up on a cat site, right? I'm not really going to talk about fee schedules because they're kind of all over the board. I'm not going to talk about the different vendors or, which insurance company is better to work for, whatever, because there's just no real way of, one guy or gal might like working for company A, and then this person over here can't stand them. So it's really hard to say. You might develop relationships with any of these companies. So, and I think that but probably with very few exceptions, they're all probably really good to work for if you're patient and you're willing to just kind of put your head down, do what they say, and push through the claim. So anyway, when you show up on a cat site, typically what you're going to do is go to orientation. You're going to go to kind of an induction center, and you should, if you're going with one of the bigger companies, and if you go with Pilot, this is probably what you'll end up doing. They will give you your ID badge, get a lanyard so that you can wear it around your neck. I like to wear mine. I don't know why I have to get a pen to do this, but I always get a lanyard and I stick my pen in it, so that's kind of hooked on there, so that no matter what kind of a shirt I'm wearing, I've always got my pen there for whatever. Get 2 or 3 storm shirts. They may have you pay for those. They probably have to have you pay for them. They may have you pay for them out of your paycheck or out of an advance or whatever. And then if they have a jacket, grab it, because you might still be there in December and you need a jacket and you want to have something that has the company logo on it. They probably will have handouts for the customers, depending on which insurance company you're working for, and they'll usually come in a cellophane wrapped stack, about like that big, and like in bricks, and there'll be a bunch of big boxes full of them. Take one of those bricks. You don't need to take 9 of them. You don't need to walk out of there with a big stack like this, because you're not going to get that many claims. And then if there's door hangers and business cards, do the same thing. Don't take the max. Take 2 of each thing, but don't take a whole bunch, because the next you might take almost all of them, and then there's like 8 people left in the line to get more stuff, and then they don't have anything, and then you've got them all. So, and you may not even need to hand them out on everybody's claim. So, 1 or 2 of any handouts that you get, grab 2 door magnets unless instructed otherwise. And very, very, very important, you guys, please put your door magnets on straight, okay? Don't just slap them on there. Don't slap them on the back door. Don't, so that they're on there crooked or whatever. Put them on the driver's side, front door, and the passenger side, front door, and make sure that they're level with the ground, because that's going to make more sense than being, it's kind of nitpicky, but it makes a little bit of a difference. And if you happen to do a ride along with your manager or your field support, they're going to straighten up for you anyway, and they're going to give you, they might look at you funny. They might say something if you don't have them on there straight. It's just kind of a professionalism thing. So, and I'm going to do it if I'm your field support person. With storm shirts and door magnets, if you go to McDonald's or Chipotle or whatever for lunch and you're just grabbing a sandwich, you're on the run, you're working, whatever, that's totally fine. After work, if you go out to dinner, probably still fine. But if you go out for drinks, I would highly recommend, even if you do just go out for dinner and you don't think you're going to have any cocktails, I would change into a regular shirt and take your door magnets off. Long story short, you don't want to be going to a restaurant and sitting there having pitchers of beer with other adjusters, and then have, inevitably you're going to start talking about claims. You're going to be like, man, this one I just went to today, da da da, rah rah rah. The homeowner was this, and he had this thing, da da da. That guy might be sitting at the next table, or his neighbor or his brother-in-law might recognize the yellow sports car that was in the driveway that you're talking about. And then that's going to get back around to your insurance company, and then you're going to get a phone call from a manager saying, what the hell are you doing, man? So don't wear company shirts out after you're done working for the day. Unless you just don't, if you're just a person who just doesn't drink, or you're not going to be like out socializing and stuff, you just want to go put your head down, have some Mexican food, I mean, that's probably fine. But if you're going to meet out with a bunch of people and you think you're going to be, staying out a little bit and letting off a little bit of steam, don't wear your shirt out. And don't make sure your door magnets aren't on your vehicle. Just pull them off and throw them in the back seat. Because you just don't, and I would even go so far as to say, just if you're going to talk about work, try not to be too specific, because you just don't know who could be sitting at the next table. And you should get this, they'll give you this warning anyway when you go to orientation. So that is orientation, and you may go through like an Xactimate refresher thing, or some sort of Xactimate like jumpstart class. You may do like a next gen, or depending on what other company you work for, it might be, you may have to learn about a little bit of Navigator or the VCA, or there's dozens of them. But you got to know them, and you have to know how to set reserves, and you have to know how to do, whatever they need you to do in that sort of carrier-specific software. So one thing I'll tell you guys not to do is, if you're sitting there in the middle of orientations and you're being inducted and everything, and you haven't received claims yet, and all of a sudden you get your phone starts to ping with email saying that you're getting assigned new claims. And if you get a phone call or a text message or some sort of urgent email that you've got a hot claim, do not under any circumstances leave orientation until you've finished everything that you have to do there. Don't be like, oh, well, I got to go and start doing. You have to finish orientation. You have to take those classes. If you haven't done this ever before, absolutely, positively must finish all the little classes and stuff that they want you to do at the induction center during orientation. If you've been doing this a while, you probably won't even, you might go grab some shirts and then you're out the door. So like for me, I'm not going to go through 15 orientations, and if I start getting claims, I'm going to go call them and do them. But if you're brand new, don't do it, because you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot, because you're going to miss some important information. Okay, so that is kind of what you expect when you show up on a storm site. They may move you around. They may have sent you to Atlanta and tell you that, we're probably going to get claims in, Savannah. And then you're halfway to Savannah and they say, oh, sorry, you got to go to Richmond, Virginia, which is all the way up the coast. Just grin and bear it. It's just the nature of the business with these hurricanes, and Hurricane Florence is no exception. Even though it doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of wind claims, there's a lot of flood, and I think there's a lot of areas where that still aren't accessible. So it may pick back up. Who knows? But you may have to get a hotel that's a little bit farther away. On Hurricane Katrina, I had to drive 2 hours one way every single day to go to my claims, which are on the other side of Mississippi. And I stayed in Mobile. And you may have to make sure your tank is full before you leave the town where your hotel is, because there may not be any place to get gas. You can bring along extra water with you. I wouldn't bother bringing along a whole bunch of extra jerry cans of fuel and stuff like that, because that's just inviting somebody to steal it. And you don't have to drive that far out of the hurricane or the damage zone in order to find fuel, food, and water and lodging, because it's not like it's not like they cause damage pretty far inland, but it's not like it's 500 miles inland, or even 300 miles inland. You might have trees down and shingles blowing off, but you're not going to have leveled houses even 20, 30 miles inland. All right, so let's jump into Xactimate here. I'm going to show you guys how to set up Xactimate, kind of a quick and dirty way, so that before you download your claims, or at least before you accept them, if you've already downloaded them, don't hit accept yet until you do this. And this way you will save yourself a bit of a headache later. You want to go in your Control Center tab, you want to go into Preferences and make sure that the company header is what it's supposed to be, and that the claim rep is you. Okay. I would set your auto save interval to 1 minute, and remember that you have to hit save before it starts doing the auto save. So when you're in a claim, be sure that you hit save right away as soon as you open it up. But you want to do these things before you accept your claims, because if you don't, then you'll have to manually do this every single time. So then what you want to do is you want to go into your dashboard, And in order to accept new claims, you hit connect, or to download your claims, you hit connect, and anything that's been assigned to you will show up in your inbox. If you get a file sent back to you for corrections, it'll show up under messages sometimes, but all your assignments will be here. But you just go to in this inbox, and then you'll click, you know, like when you have things in there, you'll click, and you can Control A to select everything, and then over here on the right side, those are your sent items, so you don't want to do that. It'll say accept, and you just hit accept, and then they'll be in your queue like this. No problem. Next thing I want to show you guys how to do is route claims in Xactanalysis. So you want to go to your in progress claims, this button right here. And if you don't have that button right there, you can click on Customize Options, and you can check off all the things that you want to have show up on your welcome page there. So you click on In Progress, and these are all the claims that I have in progress right now. If I want to map these out, I can hit either select them one at a time, like this, or I can check off that whole thing and go to Map Assignments here, and then hit Go. And then it's going to show me where all my claims are, and I've got claims all over the place. Looks like I have one almost in Canada. These are my daily claims. So now I can put together, start routing from here. I don't have to export anything to Google Maps. I don't have to save an Excel spreadsheet or anything. All I have to do is just jump into Xactanalysis and do this. So I can say, all right, I want to do this one, and this one on Tuesday. And then I route them that way. Super, super duper simple. So how do you build your inspection schedule so that you have time to get everything done? Basically, if you're brand spanking new, this is what I'm going to recommend that you do. And this is going to be like a, you know, calendar here, basically. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I highly recommend, we're going to pretend like, you know, we're starting a week on Monday. And this is Monday. Okay. Your very, very first week, do not schedule any more than one a day for the first 3 days. Okay. And then you're going to take an office day. And that means that this is kind of your sort of like catch-up day. It's an administrative day. It's phone call day. You're going to have people that are going to be calling and leaving you messages. You're going to have stuff to do. You're going to have file. You know, you're going to want to. The reason I'm having you do one a day here is because. Let's see if I can get this a little darker for you guys. The reason you're going to do one a day is because you're going to close that claim. So you're going to make this each one for 9 o'clock in the morning. And take as long as you need to inspect it, and then take it, all your photos, and you know, your scope notes and all that stuff, and take it back to the help room or take it back to your hotel room, get on the phone with somebody or have somebody help you, close that claim that day. This claim wants to be closed. If you inspect it on Monday, you're closing it on Monday, okay? Same thing on Tuesday, same thing on Wednesday. Depending on what kind of claims you've been given, if you've been given like a bunch of wind claims and they're really easy, I would say you could even do 2 to 3 here, right? I probably would err mostly on the side of doing 2, especially if, like I said, if you're brand spanking new and you've never done this before. I want you to, my ultimate objective for you guys when you do this, whether you close it, and I always close my claims on site. So ultimately down here, you know, weeks later, if you're able to close them on site, that's great. If not, you still want to have those claims closed by the end of that day. So I strongly counsel you to only inspect the number of claims that you can absolutely reasonably close the same day, that night, in a reasonable hour. If you know, you don't want to be one of the main reasons I do this is because I don't want you guys staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning and then getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, because you'll burn out very, very quickly. You're going to get more done. You're going to get more claims closed than other people who are going out and trying to scope 7 or 6 and then staying up all night writing them, because they're never going to be able to close 7 claims, especially brand new people, guaranteed brand new people, won't be able to close 7 claims the night of the same day that they inspected them. It's simply just not going to happen. What will happen is that they might close 2, and then they've got 5 to stack on to the next day. So they inspected 6 this day. They can still only close 2 that night. So now they've got, what is that, 4 plus 5, so they got 9 that they move over to this day. So pretty soon you're going to get out here and you're going to have like, you know, you're going to have most of your claims unwritten. The number one thing that you absolutely do not want to do, which will cause you to wash out, is to go and scope 6 a day, every single day, until you get whatever you have in hand done. And you can get everything looked at pretty quickly. And scoping's not rocket science. It's probably the easiest part of this whole thing. So you can probably scope 6 a day, and then expect to either stay up all night long writing them up, or spend the next week in office days writing them up. If you do this, if you try to scope these and then write them up the next week, you're going to get every single one of these claims kicked back. Because number one, this is especially, even in the beginning of a storm, I'll get a bunch of files kicked back because there'll be little things that the IA or the carrier wants that I didn't do. If you do only a few a day and close a few a day and turn them in, then you'll get things sent back like, Matt, you've got the wrong price list. If you have 42 claims that you have turned in down here that you scoped, by the time you get done writing all those up, you're going to be down here a week later, or even 2 weeks or a week and a half later. You're gonna have to redo all those claims because you had the wrong price list in there. If you didn't turn them in until after you scoped them, if you didn't have the company header, if you forgot to put the deductible on all of them, if you didn't do the depreciation right, if you put the wrong note in, if you used the wrong line item that they didn't want you to use for tearing off the roof or whatever, you're gonna have to redo every single one of those claims, and that's going to be a nightmare. And you're never going to get new claims if you do that, because if the file reviewers have to kick back 42 of your claims, your manager's going to get a call and say, so-and-so looks like they went out and they'll know. Looks like they went out and scoped a bunch and then tried to sit in their office and write them up, or sit back at their hotel room all day long and write them up, and they messed up every single, they messed up all these things on every single one of these claims. Your manager's going to call you and tell you to come into the office, or he's going to give you he or she will give you an earful about how you need to be, what do they call it, inspected. If you haven't inspected the close ratio, what they want to see is that everything that you've inspected on a certain day is closed by the end of that day, within 24 hours of that day. So you don't want to have 42 claims inspected and then nothing closed. Or you're going to start here and you're going to get 4 done, and you might do 10 here, and it might take you a whole other week to do all those 42. And in the meantime, phone calls are piling up, emails are piling up, the corrections are going to start to come in, and it's going to snowball out of control, and you're going to crash and burn, I promise you. So, want to survive your first storm, and you want to do it in a way that gets you noticed and gets you getting new claims, which is really the most important thing, because you're here to make money and you're here to turn over claims, and you want to have, there's an absolute minimum of quality and customer service that you absolutely have to hit, otherwise you're out of there. Excuse me. Again, we're going to do 1 a day and an office day, and then 7. And then if you're really, really new and you're struggling a little bit with construction, stuff like that, I'm still going to tell you to do 1 here, so that by the end of this week you have 6 closed. If you have issues with this one, especially if you weren't able to go into a help room and have somebody help you do it, which I highly, highly recommend. If you have any access to any kind of help rooms or anything at all, take each one of these claims. As soon as you get done scoping it, go to that help room and sit down and make sure that the person who is there helping you reviews your file with you, makes sure that you have everything in there so that when this claim closes, it stays closed. You'll have 6 claims done by the end of the first week, whereas the other person will be lucky to have 6 claims done by the end of the 3rd week, or even the middle of the 3rd week, because they're so far behind because they had to do corrections, and the corrections are going to fall at the bottom of their list of things to do because they've got homeowners that are calling and being like, you told me you were going to call me on Thursday, and it's the next Monday. You know, where's my estimate? Where's my total? Where's my this? Where's my that? Right? So corrections get put to the bottom. 6 solid closed claims at the end of the first week. And then every 3rd day, this is Monday, this is Sunday, we're taking an office day, okay? This is kind of your buffer day. It helps you to get caught up on phone calls, emails, any corrections that you do have to do. And then we'll do 2 a day here. And we're going to have an office day. And then you can keep doing 2 a day here, or you can jump up to 3. So you've got 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 9, 12. So at the end of the second week, there's 12 plus 6. That's 18. Done your second week. If you just cool your jets, put the brakes on, don't listen to the other hot rods that are out there telling you that you got to scope like a madman or madwoman and then go home or go back to your hotel room or whatever and try to write them up. They're not going to have 18 solid closed claims done by the end of the second week. They just won't. They may have something close to that, but they're going to be getting things kicked back all the time because they didn't give themselves the room that they needed in their schedule to learn how to do this. Because even though you know how to do Xactimate, and maybe you're a whiz at policy, and you were sold cars, so you're really good at customer service or whatever, putting it all together in the middle of the chaos of doing a big storm deployment like Hurricane Florence or Katrina or whatever, you have to build in time to learn all this stuff, because otherwise, like I said, you're going to totally wash out. So 3rd week, we've got 3, 3, 3. Here's another 3 office. You could probably still do 3 a day here, and you're going to be solid. And then jump up to 4 on Sunday there, right? So 3, so that's 12 plus 4 is 16, plus 18 is, what is that, 20, 34? Yeah, so 34 done by the end of your 3rd week, right? So you're averaging, now at this point you're averaging about 10 a week, right? And you're going to have 50 claims done. If you got to sign 50 claims when you showed up, you're going to have them done before the 4th week is out, right? And I can promise you, from having been a field support manager in the field and having to sit through like management conference calls where they're like, or even just the regular conference calls that we have every week, we have people down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks who haven't turned in any claims yet. Okay? I mean, that's a month and a half. And they'll be like, anybody who hasn't turned in their claims or hasn't turned in any of their claims yet is going to be asked to turn their claims in and leave. And then some other adjuster, if you follow this, will start getting more claims about 4 to 6 weeks, 2 months in, because people start to wash out and they totally mess up the claims. And this is how you stay on a hurricane for a while. And then you end up doing cleanup. So you start out slow and steady, and then you ramp up so that by here you may be doing 6 a day. Maybe down here you might be doing 6 a day. Right? And I still say take an office day. And that's, 6, 18, that's 36 claims in a week. I mean, whatever your average fee bill is, if it's $400, what's 36 times 400? And what is that? Okay, so, is that right? Yeah. So even on week 1, we've got 6 done. That's still this in your very first week, okay? Think about it in terms of, your bottom line. First of all, because you're going to have to be paying for your hotel every week, your food and your fuel and everything else. You're probably going to have to pick up some other supplies. You may not have brought a good enough ladder. Your printer may break. you know, you're gonna have expenses, and if you're closing claims the first week like this, if you make sure that you're able to close each one of these claims every single day, you know, at the end of this week, the end of the day on Sunday, you inspected 3 claims, you have those 3 claims done and all the rest of these claims done. You have 18 total claims closed at the end of your second week. You know, this is why people do this job, is for this kind of money, right? And if you do it smart, then you'll be able to be down here with, you know, maybe 100 claims. And what's 100 times 400? $40,000. I don't have to do the math on that. So, and that's if, you know, like on Hurricane Irma, if you did 100 claims and you were billing $950, like I know a lot of people that were, that's $100,000, right? And they're not any harder than any of the so I'm just telling you, this is, if you're brand new, let's put it this way. If you're brand spanking new and you don't know what kind of a system to put together for yourself, use this system until you've decided, you know, this works great for me, I'm going to keep doing it, or I think I've got a better way. You improve on it in some way, or you work it out to where it works for you in your own way. Then go for it. But when you're just starting out, I highly recommend that you do it this way: 1 a day for the first week, right? And then taking every 3 days, no matter how long you're on the storm, taking an office day. And you're not taking a day off. This is not like go watch a movie day. This is there's always going to be something to do. You're going to have a lot of phone calls to make, even though you made them all back here when you set up your claims and everything. So this is your schedule, all right? With this blueprint right here, what you're going to do is you're going to start, based on the mapping thing that we did in Xactanalysis, you're going to start plugging your claims in, right? One thing that I will tell you, a lot of companies on big events like these big hurricanes are going to have a certain threshold under which you can close claims over the phone. So if you look at the notes and it says there's a tree, you know, a small tree landed on the fence and landed on the, you know, kid's play set or whatever, that's probably going to be less than $2,500 or $5,000. Some insurance companies will have a sort of a program, or they'll want you to close claims over the phone because they want to get these claims closed as fast as possible. So even if you don't have photos or you aren't physically going to inspect it, you can interview the insured over the phone and say, okay, well, you know, how many feet long was the section of fence that was damaged by the tree? What kind of fence was it? How tall was the fence? And then how big is the tree? And then you write an estimate based on that. And some people call it fast path, some people call it express claims handling, whatever it is. It's basically phone closing the claim after interviewing the insured. And you can, you know, if you got a water spot on the ceiling and they can look out in their front yard and see that their shutters are blown off or whatever, they're going to want you to close those claims over the phone. And I would highly recommend that in the beginning of your week that you would, you know, you go through your pile, and as you pull those ones out that look small, right? And I would say to take at least 2 or 3 days and do, we'll call them fast path. Call those people, call them all on Monday. You know, maybe you have 12 of them. Call all 12 of those, write out your little scope on your loss report sheet. You know, room is 10 by 12. There's a spot on the ceiling that's, you know, 12 square feet, whatever it is, you know, and then take those to the help room for the next 2 or 3 days, however long it takes for you to get those closed, and write them up and get those out of your queue. And then, you know, then I would start in on doing 1 a day here. And then, so if you had 12 of those fast path ones right here, now you've got 15 closed your first week. So this is always a great thing when this happens, and sometimes they raise it, like on Hurricane, like on Sandy, they raised it to $7,500 for about a week, or I don't know, it was a few days at least, where they said if you have a claim that even if it's, you know, up to $7,500, close it over the phone, get it closed, right? So you're like, that's easy money, and they give you they gave us the full inspections, or they gave the adjusters the full inspection fee. I did a field support on that storm, which is, I mean, that's cash money. I mean, you can't, it's almost like stealing. I mean, if because you're able to bill for the full inspection and sit there and write it up. And it literally takes, you don't have to drive anywhere, you don't have to do anything else. Write it up, call the insured back and say, grand total is $6,912. If you checks in the mail, that's all you have to do, and then you get to bill the full inspection. That's pretty awesome. So fast path claims, handle those first, get those knocked out as fast as possible. You're going to learn on lot on those, so that means you probably, could even do 2 a day, depending on how strong you are at scoping to start, and then just kind of move on from there. Next thing you know, you're done with your initial pile of claims, and your manager is happy with you because you were able to close claims right away, and you spent a lot of time in there making sure that the claims are correct. So any new claims that they get, they're going to give to you. The other adjusters, I'm telling you this, and any veteran adjusters that are watching this will know that I'm telling the absolute truth. If you go out and you try to scope all your claims or a bunch of claims and then sit there for a few days and write them up, and you wash out because of that, because all your files are totally screwed up and you can't handle it, so you throw your hands in the air and you leave, all those claims that were assigned to that adjuster that did that scoped a bunch of days and then tried to write them up and then failed, they're going to go to the people who are producing like you. And even if you have, you're not turning over like 6 claims a day your very first week out of the gate, you're still closing claims, and they know you're new. So they're going to start giving you more responsibility because they want to cultivate you as somebody that they can rely on to help them close claims, right? So it's not how you start off, really. It's kind of how you finish up. And I'm telling you right now, if you follow this, where you do what I just showed you guys a minute ago, follow that on your first storm and get your brain wrapped around doing claims, you're going to make a name for yourself, and it's going to be a good name. You're going to have a good reputation, and you're going to make good money, and they're going to keep assigning you claims until you say that you're done, that you can't handle it anymore, which happens. I mean, you can be on a storm for 4 months and be like, I'm out. It's starting to slow down, and I'm tired, and I got to go back and I got some family stuff, whatever. And they'll say, all right, thanks so much for your help, man. Next we're going to be calling you like crazy. So and I've had it said to me, and plenty of people have. So scheduling is important. You have to have a battle plan, and you have to stick to it. Otherwise, you'll have chaos, and there's no way you can manage chaos if you don't know what's coming. When and how to contact your insureds, and I'm going to give you guys, I'm just going to say them because I have them memorized. Basically, basic scripts that you use when you're contacting your homeowners, whether you're talking to them in person, you leave a message, or what to do when there's no answer, you can't get in touch with people. Okay, critical thing to remember here is that when you set, probably said this before, but when you set up your schedule, when you're writing it all out, and when you're routing everybody, and you put, you write their, like, I always write down on the upper right hand corner where I want to put somebody. So 2 o'clock Thursday, right? I write that up there, May 5th. That is their appointment, whether I've contacted them or not. Even up until 2 o'clock on Thursday, that's still their appointment, even if I wasn't able to get in touch with them. I will go to their house at 2 o'clock on Thursday, May 5th, and I will, if they're home, I will introduce myself and I'll make the contact that way. If they let me, I'll inspect at that time because I've set it aside. If they don't, if they're like running out the door or they can't do it or whatever, then we'll figure out some other time to do it. If they're not home, then I'll put a door hanger on the door and I'll say, please call me so we can set an appointment, okay? But this always, no matter what, this is their time until it's not their time, okay? So if I don't go through my whole list and contact everybody, and then if for some people I didn't get in touch with, then they lose that spot. That's absolutely not how my scheduling system works. So when I do contact them, they get a check mark, so that when at a glance, I can look through and say, yep, these guys were contacted. If there's no check mark there, then I have to pull out and say, well, I didn't get in touch with that guy. Better call him again, right? So when I call the homeowners, I will say, after I've laid everything out and I made my stack and I put all the dates and times of where I want to do everybody, I'll call them up and I'll say these words. Hi, this is Matthew Allen with Acme Insurance Company. Is this Mr. Johnson? Hi, Mr. Johnson. I just wanted to call and touch base with you and let you know that I'm the field adjuster who's been assigned to your storm damage claim to your house at insert address here. Looks like you have some damage to your fence from the hurricane. Can you kind of give me a little bit more of information about that, or a little bit more of a description? Okay. Was there any other damage around the house that you guys noticed? Was there any damage to the roof? Any shingles in the yard? Okay. Was there any damage to the inside of the house? Any water spots in the ceiling, or any broken windows or anything like that? Okay. Any personal property that was damaged? Okay. All right. Well, listen, the next time I'm going to be in your neck of the woods is going to be on Tuesday, May 5th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's this coming Tuesday, which is a week from tomorrow. How does that sound for you? Okay, perfect. Well, I'll put you down for that, and I will see you Tuesday, May 5th at 2 o'clock, and we'll get this all squared away for you. Do you have any questions at this time? Okay, if anything comes up in the meantime, my cell phone number should be in your caller ID. Otherwise, this is it. Do not hesitate to give me a call anytime if you have any questions, or if you need to change that appointment time. Otherwise, I will see you next Tuesday, 2 o'clock, May 5th. Have a great one. And that's really all you have to say. You could go as deep as you want into the detail and into the weeds, getting information. But your prime objective is to just make sure that there aren't any surprises with the claim. When you show up, they say in the notes that there's a tree on the fence, but then you get there and like the garage is flattened out, or the tree's also on the garage and it's destroyed, or it's half the house is, you got to make sure that you're not walking into any surprises. If you're going to leave a voicemail, it's basically the same thing, except for I will say this. Hi, this is Matthew Allen with Acme Insurance Company. This message is for Mr. And or Mrs. Smith. Just calling to touch base with you to let you know that I'm the adjuster who has been assigned to your storm damage claim to your house at insert address here, and that I'm going to be in your neighborhood to take a look at the damage on Tuesday, May 5th at 2 o'clock. Please call me or text me back and let me know that Tuesday, 2 p.m., May 5th works for you, and we'll go from there. So I look forward to talking to you. Thank you so much. My telephone number, and again, looking for a Tuesday, 2 p.m., May 5th appointment. And you notice that I thank you for, whatever. So, and you notice that I'm repeating that time a bunch, because guaranteed will happen, especially if you leave a message. You could say, 4:15 p.m., Thursday, March 7th, and right at the very end, and the person will call and say, hey, just calling you back. Want to see when you wanted to come out. And you're like, well, I said right in the voicemail. So I repeat it several times, and it seems like the more I repeat it, the more I get like a voicemail back saying, hey, yeah, Tuesday at 2 is great. See you then. Or a text message saying, Tuesday at 2 o'clock is great. Is it okay if my contractor's there? Text back, yes, of course. We'll see you then. Perfect. Then you mark it off. Then you jump in Xactimate, and you make sure that you put a note in there later on if somebody calls back or texts you to confirm. And I basically went over what to do if a person doesn't answer their phone, if they don't have a voicemail, if you can't get a hold of them. Call the agent, see if you can't get another number for them. If those numbers don't work, or they don't have another number for them, and you try every day, once a day, until that appointment date shows up, don't give that file back. That's money. Each one of these things represents several $100s, okay? Don't be giving files back because you can't get a hold of somebody. I can't tell you the number of times I will be reviewing files and I'll see notes in there saying, third attempt to contact customer, couldn't get a hold of them, please send letter, file closed. And I'm like, what are you doing? Go to that person's house at 2 o'clock, Tuesday, May 5th, and knock on the door. If they're home, 99 out of 100 times, and if they're home, I'll say, do you mind if I go ahead and take a look around now? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Come on in. It's done. And then that several hundred bucks is in my pocket, not in some other adjuster's pocket because the insured just happened to be out of town or didn't get back until the morning of that day. If they're not home, leave a door hanger. Please call me. This is my cell phone number. I want to set up an appointment to come and take care of, take a look at the damage and get you guys squared away, whatever, right? But don't give files back. If it's been like, you make 3 calls, and then you go and they're not home, and you leave a door hanger, and you call the agent, and the agent doesn't have anything for you, and then you take the next 2 or 3 days and you call some more and they still don't get back with you, then you might reach out to your manager and be like, really can't get a hold of this person. You know, should we send a letter or what? And they'll tell you what to do. It's so rare that happens for me, that I'm not ever able to get a hold of somebody, that I don't think it's a viable option. I've never turned a file back in. I don't think I can say that. I haven't, out of the thousands of claims I've ever handled, it's a rare one, once in a blue moon, definitely not once a year event where I have to turn a file back in because I couldn't get a hold of the customer. It may have happened 5 times in my whole career in 20 years. So try to hang on to your files as much as possible. Don't be giving a file back just because you can't get a hold of somebody. You make every effort too, because this is money in your pocket, okay? When I'm in Xactimate, one thing I'll do is set up a new project, and I'll call it grouping tree template, right? And all I want to do in here is, doesn't matter what the price list is, I want it to create a grouping tree that I can bring into my claims when I set them up. And then I can do, let's see, let's do this. Interior. So, Xactimate's a little quirky with this. It's not exactly user-friendly. So, you know, you might have a bunch of generic rooms, so you could say a bedroom. Click off this little checkbox here. So, bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, master bath, basement, utility room. Usually we'll cover most rooms. And then we'll do other structures. And then we'll do contents. And then we'll do debris removal. So then I save and exit this. So now after I've contacted everybody and I've got them all routed and done all that other stuff, and now that I have everybody contacted, I will open up, you know, I'm going to do a pretend one here. We'll say John Doe, and he's got his address in there. You can double click on that and it'll put the date in there, and then make sure that this is, you know, populated. I go through the whole thing and make sure everything is in here. He's got a $1,000 deductible. If we're looking at a real claim, usually this stuff will already be populated, so you don't have to do it. Closing statements, opening statement, right? The header's in there, price list and all that stuff. Then in report management, I'm going to jump in here. Under report management, I've got a bunch of things saved. So since we contacted this person, we want to make sure that, you know, with these templates we can make sure that the file is up to date, so that if somebody calls your manager or calls the agent or whatever, that somebody else can look in the file and see that you've already done this. You've already talked to it's one of the homeowners. Because sometimes you get people that are, believe it or not, some spouses don't really talk to each other, or they might be divorced and the house might be for sale or something like that. So they're not. You talk to Mrs. Doe. She didn't tell Mr. Doe that she had an appointment, and he calls in all mad because he hasn't heard from anybody yet. Well, you called and you set up the appointment. So when somebody goes in here to look, they'll see that you did. So you called insured time at 10 a.m., spoke with Mrs. Doe, spoke with Jane Doe. Phone number is 123-134, whatever. Established appointment for 5, 6, 5. I'm not sure where. I think J is a 5 or 6. Friday, 2 p.m. Insured reported that the roof and there was a tree on the fence. The roof is 12 years old. That's it. So that's all you really have to do, right? So you save that. And then, because this is a dummy estimate and I set it up myself, it's not going to give me the option, but under a regular claim, you're going to have an option here to upload. Always upload. As soon as you put in all your activity diary entries, hit upload so that it goes into the queue, because it won't do it automatically necessarily. And then we're going to go up here to the project tab and go to copy from project, and then project copy from grouping tree template. And then I'll do scope, which will give you the grouping tree. I'm going to copy. Now, when I go into estimate items, here's my grouping tree. So now when I go on site, I don't have to sit here and build this thing out if I have a whole bunch of different stuff. All I have to do, I already did it, so all I have to do is jump in here to roof, right, replacing 12 shingles, and that's it. So, and then it builds it out automatically, and then when I go into, left elevation, I'll say siding, vinyl, 16 square feet. So then when I go to print, yes, I want to resequence the line numbers. It'll have these headings in here. So it's got the dwelling exterior roof, right? And this is what I'm going to do on the roof. Then the left elevation, this is what I'm doing on the left elevation. Pretty simple, right? Not a very big claim. Basically, I'll sit down and I'll make all my phone calls, and then in a row, without stopping, if somebody calls in the middle of it, I'm just going to let it go to voicemail. If they send me a text, I'm going to let it, I'm not going to answer things. I'm going to just plow through making all of my calls. And then I will restack all of my papers and I'll jump into Xactimate, and then I'll go in and I'll do this what I just showed you guys, just doing all this stuff here without stopping. I'll just sit on the bed. You could put some music or the TV on at this point, because this is kind of mindless stuff. I fill out every single activity diary. I'll put a grouping tree in for every single one. I'll make sure that the insured info button this is all up to date, and my name's in there, and if the mortgage company is in there, you want to make sure that you confirm that. I do all of this stuff on every single claim, so that when I go out on site, I'm not having to do all this little poking around at little boxes and check boxes and stuff like that while I'm trying to close the claim. I'll just jump pretty much straight into, the first thing I'll do is I'll put the photos in, and then I'll do the estimate, and then I'll do the activity diary. And once I'm done with the activity diary, then I'm done with the claim, and I close it and I go on to the next one. So with photos, we just jump straight into this. I use SD cards. I have a camera that has an SD card, and I made sure to get a laptop that had an SD card slot. And I will, you click on this little guy up here, and then you want to hit load images, and then usually this will default to whatever the last thing was. But this is my SD card right here. I'll just kind of flip through here until I get to the photos, and the most recent ones are the ones on the bottom. So we'll just use these 5. But I'll click the bottom one, and then I'll shift click the one I want, and then everything in between will select. And I hit open. It imports all the pictures in, and then I'll start labeling. So this is the risk photo. This is the basement, and I'm going to look a little closer at this. So water damage to ceiling. And if you hit Alt-N, it takes you to the next one. Insulation in ceiling, no damage to framing. Alt-N, and then overview. Pretty straightforward. So that's getting photos in there. When you do a print preview, and if you're going to print something out on site, you want to make sure that you have images checked off, because you don't want to be printing. You'll use up a bunch of ink if you try to print out a bunch of pictures. And that's no bueno, because ink's not cheap. So that's how you get photos in. All right, I want to show you guys a couple shortcuts here real quick. If you want to import, if you want to use a macro, let's just pretend like, let's make a macro first. So we'll do a roof repair macro. We'll call this, let me just make a note here. The following line items are to repair the roof, because this will save in our macro, right? Slide that up to the top, and then I'm going to add in, so roofing ridge cap. Just make up a number. If we're doing a macro, we can just make the numbers up, because we'll change them later. Roofing vent T, roofing vent B, roofing FL pipe, roofing FL pipe, roofing FL pipe, lead. So here's our little macro, right? Click the bottom one, shift click the top one, and then hit save macro. And we're going to call this we call it 3-tab repair. Hit OK. And now that macro is saved in there. If we want to call up our macro, hold down Control and hit M, and there's our macro, 3-tab repair. And sometimes it'll flip things over. Sometimes you have to resave it. This is a glitch. It's been in Xactimate for years. I don't get it. 3-tab repair, but you may have to do this. Save all this stuff. Overwrite it. Yep. So now we're going to delete this and open it again. And there it is, the correct way. Still don't understand why they don't fix little glitches like this in Xactimate, but it is what it is. So that is a macro. If you have a really huge estimate, like I just showed you guys back here, you can do copy from project and bring in another big template estimate. If you're doing a lot of water losses, you can build out, if you've got spare time or before a storm, you can sit there and build out a great big gigantic, water damage estimate template that you can just bring in and then delete things out that you don't need. Another really pretty important shortcut, or kind of a trick, is that sometimes Xactimate will start crashing on you a bunch, and maybe you moved the windows around a little bit, or basically, the very first thing I would say to do if Xactimate starts to crash on you guys is to go under the Xactimate tab here, and go to Tools, and I would hit Reset Window Positions, and this is really the main one, is Reset Window Positions. So you hit Reset Window Positions, and that should fix everything. So if you're trying to open up an estimate, and every time you try to open the estimate it crashes and it sends an error report, then reopen Xactimate, go into the Xactimate tab, go to Tools, go to Reset Window Positions, and it should fix it. But I also like to set up my windows like this so that I can see all of my line items, especially in a big room, and I can see my entire grouping tree. The way Xactimate has it is they have these things in another window pane, which is, I never use it. I mean, sometimes I use a search function, but I use the search function quite frequently in Sketch, and I think that's the best place for it. And you can find anything in here that you can't normally find in other places for some reason. So if you wanted to detach and reset your oven, you can do built-in oven detach and reset, right? if you want to do angle stop valves. And then all you have to do is click it and then just drop it on your room. Sketch is pretty cool. It's got its quirks, but it's pretty handy. I'm not going to do a big long sketch thing for you guys. Most of you guys should be getting your at least level 1 certification. I would strongly recommend getting level 3 if you can, if you got time and the money or the inclination for it, because it's really important to be fast in the software if you want to be any good doing claims. Okay, so now we have written the estimate, we've scoped the house, we've written the estimate, and now we need to settle up with the customer. At this point, your number one objective is to make sure that the customer understands what it is that you're paying for and why, how much they're going to get and when, and to set expectations so that they know what's going to happen next and what they need to do, more or less. So when I talk to a customer and I've got their estimate and I'm going to go over their numbers with them, I'll say, I'll go through each room, I'll go through the roof, and I'll say, this is the grand total on the roof right here. And I might circle with a pen or whatever, and explain to them that they have such and such kind of a roof. And then I'll go to any inside rooms and I'll say, this is what we're going to do in the bedroom, and here's what we're going to do in the bathroom, and then this is the section with the fence. Is that everything that we talked about? Was there anything else that you can think of? No, that sounds fine. Or, I forgot to tell you about this thing. And then tear that up and go write it up. And I do this on site. So, I'm writing it up and I'm settling on site. So if they tell me something else to do, or something else that they forgot, I'm going to add it to the estimate right there. I'm not going to say, we'll file a supplement for it, because, I had an adjuster do that to me one time, because I had a claim. I was very mad. Anyway, and then I'll go to the grand total and I'll say, all right, the grand total for your claim is $10,000. You have a $1,000 deductible, which we subtract from the grand total. And the deductible is essentially your part of the claim that you agreed to pay as per your policy. Whenever Acme Insurance Company pays for any kind of a settlement where we're paying for all of something, for example, your roof, we always pay in 2 payments. And the first payment is something that we call the actual cash value payment. It's kind of basically the appraised value of what you have based on its age and condition. So your roof is a 25-year shingle, and you said it was about 12 years old, so 12 out of 25 is about half. So in this case, we'll hold back about half on the roof until you have that work completed, and then we just need to see something from your contractor saying, work's done, balance due, and we'll send you the final amount up to that remaining amount so that you can pay off the contractor and be all done with everything. So your deductible should be the only thing that's out of your pocket at any given time on the claim. Typically, most contractors are going to ask for a deposit or a down payment of some kind up front. They may ask you for your deductible amount, or 10% or 50%. A lot of contractors will not ask for anything up front. They'll just give you a final invoice at the very end after they've completed the work and they're sure you're satisfied. But either way, no contractor should ask for everything up front, and nor should you pay the total amount until they've completed the work. And then you should be getting a check in the mail in about a week to 10 business days, and you should be good to go. If you start getting estimates from contractors and they start coming back higher, if they find more damage, or if you find more damage, by all means, call me back. My cell phone number is right here. My email address is right here. I'll work with the contractor going forward to make sure that we get you the right amount so that you can get the work done. And it's entirely possible that there's things we couldn't see, and there may be some pricing discrepancies, but we'll work with your contractors, like I said, to make sure that we get everything taken care of. So does that make sense? And he's looking for, customer to nod their head. Sometimes you're going to get people that are going to stand there like this, with their hands over their mouths and their arms crossed, and kind of scowling and like looking down and not looking up at you. And you want to make sure that those people understand, because those are the people that, even though you explained all that stuff to them, they're going to call their agent back as soon as you drive away and say, the adjuster only wants to give me half of, for my roof. How am I supposed to get a half a roof done? Da, 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 da. Even when you said we're paying for the whole thing, you're just getting half up front. You said it, you saw them do this, but they still didn't get it. So you want to make sure that they understand, right? So in that case, if I see somebody who looks like they're not getting it, or they're not hearing exactly what you're saying, they're hearing what they think they want to hear based on what they think about insurance companies. You just want to make sure you say, listen, like I said, you're going to get this first check. This is to get you started. And then once you're done, all you have to do is show us the invoice from the contractor saying that you're done, and we'll send you the rest of the money. Does that make sense? And look them in the eye, make sure that you get their chin up, don't touch them or anything, but make sure that they're looking at you and they're just like, okay, all right, that makes sense. And you can see some recognition in their eyes. This is why I close on site. One of the reasons why I close on site is because I'm able to make a connection with the person and watch their body language and see that it makes sense to them. Because one of the biggest customer service problems that you'll have as an adjuster, or that any adjuster has, is customers not understanding what the heck you're talking about, or not knowing what to expect next. And if you're standing there and you're able to watch them, when you're a human being, when you watch somebody's body language and you watch their face and listen to the things that they're saying back to you as you're talking to them or having a conversation with them, you have a much greater chance of reaching an understanding with them that they understand, things are clear, they know what to do next, and then they're happy and they're satisfied and they're not worried, because people will get worried and anxious when they don't know what's going to happen next. And if you're able to, and you will do really, really well in customer service if you're able to kind of defeat that worry that people have. So, and the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to do it standing there in their front yard or in their kitchen, or sitting down in their living room on the couch and going through the numbers with them and making sure that they're nodding their head and they're smiling and they're like, and you can see their shoulders will drop a little bit and their face will relax. And you can tell that they're not anxious anymore, that they understand, they're happy, they're satisfied. And that's what you're after for customer service, right? That's how I settle up with the customer. So how to deny a claim with grace and dignity. And this falls under, what I was just saying about just settling up, because you can have a claim go south where you paid for absolutely everything and it becomes a customer service nightmare. If you have trouble when you pay for everything, you're going to get your butt kicked all over the place if you have to deny a claim for whatever reason. The keys, in my experience, for good denials, and you have to do them every now and then, and that the policy doesn't pay for everything, so you just have to understand that, and you're not going to try and argue with the customer about the fact that the policy doesn't pay for everything. What you want to do is, because you're probably going to have kind of an idea that it's not covered before you even get to the house. What you want to do is develop that rapport right away. So you want to be sure that you're being really friendly with the homeowner and just acting just normal and acting like you're there to help them. Spend extra time investigating the loss. So if you don't normally get in crawl spaces, get in that crawl space. If you don't want to get in, don't normally get in the attic for something, go get up in that attic. Crawl around with your flashlight, poke around, look, because there is a chance. So this is almost all water claims are going to be ones that you're going to deny, or those are the kind of claims that end up getting denied. A lot of water stuff just isn't covered. But if you put in the time to explore and investigate that claim, you might find that the loss actually is covered, and then you don't have to deny it. But you have to give that customer a fair shake. And if they see that you're giving them a fair shake and that you're spending time and that you're trying to find a way that you can pay their claim, when you actually finally have to say, listen, we've looked high and low, we've checked this whole thing out, and I'm sorry, but there just really isn't any coverage for this this particular loss, and I'm truly sorry for that. When you say that, they're going to believe you instead of just breezing through the house, taking a few photos, and then already having made up your mind, because they'll be able to tell. And when you get your customer service survey report back, it'll say right there in the notes, adjuster had already made up his mind. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen that on those little reports when I look at other adjusters' stuff. So don't already make up your mind when you get to that house. Go through that house like you haven't made up your mind, what you're really trying to do is to find a way to pay for that damage, because that's your job. You're supposed to do that. You're not supposed to go try and find ways to not pay for stuff. And the second that the customer thinks that you are, then you're going to lose and you're going to get a bad score. All the letters that I've ever gotten, not all of them, but some of the letters that I've gotten from insureds that were saying, we're really regretful that we weren't able to get our claim paid, but we just wanted to send you guys a letter and let you know that Matt did a really great job and we felt that he gave it a fair shake. I mean, that's all you have to do, right? So relax. Know that most people are going to be reasonable, and don't get all nervous and anxious and fretting that you're going to have to do a denial and spend the entire time all bunched up and not mumbling answers or whatever, and not looking around a bunch, just kind of like staring blankly at the walls, knowing that you can't pay for anything, taking pictures of whatever. Take the time, explore that claim. The bottom line is just to spend the time really investigating that loss. Develop rapport with that customer just the same way you do with any other customer that whether they're going to pay for it or you're not going to pay for it. You have to develop that rapport with them. And then break it to them gently, be kind about it, and say, be apologetic and say, and I'll follow up after I say, listen, I'm sorry, I can't, there's just nothing we can do on your claim. I'm super sorry. Say, but listen, if later on, if you get a contractor out here, or this guy or that guy, some sort of a, leak detection guy or whatever, and they find a different, they find that there's a cause of loss here that they think could be covered, you call me back immediately, and I'll come back out and I'll take some more photos, and then we'll get this thing written up for you. And we won't, you can't make a promise like that, but you say, if a contractor comes back and says that he thinks it is covered, then absolutely let us know, and we will review what he's saying, and we may come back out and take another look at it, but we want to make sure that, if we need to pay for something, that we absolutely will. And people will usually be pretty cool with that. No matter what, you're going to run into somebody that's going to be a stinker, even if you pay for everything. So a lot of times those people, it's not just guys, but women will do the same thing. It'll come out of left field, and you'll, be like, why? I paid probably more than, they were deserved on their claim. Why is this person yelling at me? Just because they're just going to yell at you. And you have to just be like, okay, yes, sir, I understand. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, give me a call. Go call their agent and say, I pay for everything on this claim, but I want to let you guys know that this guy might be calling in. Oh yeah, Mr. Smith. Yeah, we know him. Don't worry about it. Thank you so much for calling. That's a conversation I've had 100 times. So that's how you deny a loss with dignity and grace, and also, frankly, to get a good customer service score. Okay. And while we're on the subject of customer service, dealing with contractors and public adjusters is pretty much, for me, it's pretty much the same thing. I handle these guys and gals pretty much the same way as I handle a customer, and that is I treat them like the customer. I treat them with respect, kindness, humor. I always develop rapport with them. I have some empathy for their situation because I know that being on the side where they have to earn a commission and sell the job is more difficult than my job, where I just show up and say yes or no and write an estimate and move on to the next one and get paid. I'm going to get paid just for showing up. They're not getting paid just for showing up. I don't automatically assume that all roofing contractors or all contractors are crooks, or that they're out to argue with me about everything or say burr poop is hail damage when it doesn't, You're going to run into that, but you can still have fun with those guys. And if you show them that you've got a sense of humor about it and that you're not going to fight with them, usually they will be cool to you in return. And I did a video a few weeks ago about why nice, friendly doctors who had good bedside manner got sued at a significantly lower rate than other doctors who had the exact same level of care, but who were had sort of a brusque sort of bedside manner, who weren't very personable. And the reason why is because even if the friendly doctor screwed up, the patient, after deciding that they didn't want to file a malpractice suit against that doctor, when they were asked why, they said, well, because we liked our doctor. He was nice. He was a friendly guy. He talked to us. So they felt like they got a fair shake from the doctor, even though the doctor screwed up. They were willing to give the doctor a little bit of grace. And when you do that with the customer, and if you do it with contractors and public adjusters, you're going to find that your interactions with all these people are going to become much easier, friendlier, nicer, and in a lot of cases more productive because you're able to actually get, the facts of the claim put together into your report without having arguments over little silly stuff. So with regard to contractors and public adjusters, I'm always going to shake hands with those guys, look them right in the eye, tell them a little joke, make fun of their pickup truck and kind of wink at them and just have fun with them. And 97% of them are going to be cool about it. Even more than that, almost 100%. It's rare that you have like a true villain contractor who's out for blood and who's just going to make your life a living hell. You're going to run into them, but they are not as common as you might think. And if you're brand spanking new and you have to deal with contractors, you don't have to tell them that you're brand new, and you don't have to talk a lot to let anybody know that you don't, he might say something that you don't understand. You just take notes, and then you say, listen, can I get a copy of your estimate? If he doesn't have a copy of his estimate, give him your card and say, can you email me a copy of your estimate so I can look it over and when I put mine together and da-da-da-da. Okay, yeah, cool. Where's the fight there? I mean, there's no arguing, there's no nothing. And then later on, you could sit down with your manager and go through that estimate line by line, and your manager might say, "Oh, that looks good. No, you can't pay for that. Can't pay for that. That looks good." Build your estimate off of that. Call that contractor back and say, your estimate total was $25,400. We're coming back at about 21. These are some things that we can't pay for. How's that sound to you? And a lot of times, contractors are going to be like, "Okay, that sounds good. I can do it for 21." Or can you meet me at 22 and a half, or whatever. And then you try to figure out how you can work that out. And when you get that number, then you're done. They may come back later on with change orders and stuff that they couldn't see. But if you get an agreed price with them, then you've saved yourself a lot of work. You saved the customer a lot of headache having to go back and forth a whole bunch. And you save the desk adjuster who, as a staff person who's going to handle the tail on this claim after you're long gone, you've saved that person a lot of work because they don't want to have to go back and forth and do this negotiating, and they've never been to the house, so they don't know, the details of it. They're just looking at photos or whatever. You've saved that person a ton of work as well. So it's very, very important to be kind to those guys, treat them with respect, treat them with empathy, have fun with them, develop some rapport, talk about if you're into sports or cars or, you think their pickup truck is really cool. Talk to them about that stuff. Be like, man, you got, you're using the Icon stage 3s on there. What do you got on there? Da, da, da. Oh yeah, man, dude, totally. And you guys can jabber about that a little bit. He's going to think that you're a cool guy, and he's going to be way less inclined to want to beat up on you and lean on you and be rough with you, and have 3 other guys come up on the roof with him and try to lean on you to get you to buy that roof or to get you to do this or to get you to do that. He's going to be cool with you. He's like, all right, this dude's cool. You guys can get out of here, because he's going to have a bunch of buddies around, and they're going to try and intimidate you that way. But if you show that if you're not going to be intimidated, if you walk up with a smile and shake hands with everybody and say, all right, let's get started with this and take a look, then you've just disarmed the whole situation, and then there's no fighting, there's no anxiety, there's no pain and suffering, there's no yelling, there's no name calling, it's just smooth sailing, which is what I'm all about, because life's too short to be, getting worked up over confrontations with contractors. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about how to scope a loss if you've never scoped a loss before and you want to get kind of around the house and you want to have as few errors as possible. And when I say errors, I mean, it's misdamage, really. When you're looking at a house is a box, okay, for the most part. Start at the front. You're going to pull up in your car and jump out of your car, grab your ladder, and then take a photo of the front of the house. I usually get over here and take a picture this way, right? So I'm getting like a little bit of this left side in the front, or from over on this side, but you want to get like all the front and then a little bit of part of a corner, right? When you inspect a house, you want to go from the front and move counterclockwise around the house typically. So you're going to go front, right, back and left, right? And you want to take a look starting at the top of the first front corner and look at from the top down. So basically you're going to look at the gutters, you're going to look at the fascia, you're going to look at the windows, you're going to look at the siding, and then, well, that's pretty much it on the side of a house. There's not a whole lot there. So, and then you just walk along the front of the house, looking at that stuff. And you can check the screens. You're going to check, you know, for broken windows and broken siding and scratches from flying debris and that kind of thing. And if it's a hailstorm, then you're going to look for hail hits. And when you get over here, we're going to take another picture of the right side of the house, an overview picture of the right side of the house. And we're going to do the same thing. Move around the house. And when we get back up here, we'll take another photo, getting the back side of the house. And we just all the way around the house, doing that on all four sides of the house. And then we'll go up the ladder, and we'll do the same thing. Right? So this is a hip roof. Start on the front, and I would scope for damage on this front slope first. So if you got some missing tabs here, count those up and then write them down with your chalk on the roof. Say there's 16 missing tabs for wind or whatever you want to do. And then take an overview photo, right, of that whole slope right here. Then take a photo of a bunch of the damaged area, like a couple of photos of the damaged areas. Take a close-up of one or two or three of the damaged shingles, and then get a picture of what you wrote on the roof, right? And if there's any roof accessories, you want to make sure you get a photo of that too. So if you've got, you know, a turtle vent, which wouldn't be down there, but like you have a sewer vent pipe or a turtle vent up here, get photos of those. Then you go to the right slope, then you go to the back slope, then you go to the left slope, and you do the exact same thing, right? Well, you're done there, so. Pretty simple. If you do it that way, and just to backtrack a little bit, as you're going around the house, make sure that whether you have damage to stuff or not, get a couple of snapshots. Don't get a million snapshots. Don't take a picture of every single window across the front of the house. You might take a picture of, if there's no damage on the windows, you might take 2 pictures and say no damage windows front of the house, right? When you import this into Xactimate. Don't take a picture of every single window, 15 pictures each, and say no damage, no damage, no damage, no damage, because file review is just going to scroll through them and they're not even going to look at them. If you find damage, get a couple pictures of the damage, like if the gutter's damaged, you know, here, if it's all over, if it's hail damage, if it's hail damage and it's all over the place, get 1 or 2 photos of damage on that front run of gutter and let that be it. If you've got a downspout, take a picture of a dent on the downspout. Don't take 5 pictures of that same downspout from different angles. You just need 1 picture of people don't care that much about gutters as much as you think. I can't tell you the number of files I've looked at as a file reviewer, and there's 7,000 pictures of downspouts in there, and they missed a bunch of pictures on the roof because for some I don't know why that is. But as you go around the house, by the time you get done looking at the elevations, and then you get done with the roof, you've taken all your pictures. You don't have to backtrack anywhere, right? You've got everything that you need to write that up. And as you went, you wrote down on your piece of paper, or if you're using Xactanalysis or something like that, you got your scope as you went along, right? So after you've scoped this slope and written down what you're going to do on that slope, you know, right slope, if you had to diagram it, you might, whatever, or front slope, I guess. You write down 16 missing shingles, roof is 2 years old, repairable. You might make a note of that on the side, but it's say front slope, 16 wind damaged shingles. Right slope, 37 wind damaged shingles, and so on and so forth. After, you know, while you're taking pictures, so that when you're done with this slope, when you walk out of this slope, you don't have to do anything else in this slope. You don't go back to that slope and write something down. You don't go back to the slope and take pictures. You don't do anything. You get everything out of that slope while you're in it. Then you go to this one. Then you go to this one. Then you go to this one. As soon as you're done with everything you've got to do in this slope, you get down off the roof, and you go back to your car and you write it up, or you go inside. It's the same deal on the inside. When you're in a room, you're going to want to, you know, there's a window back there, and a door, and a window, right? Water spot on the ceiling, okay? And then maybe there's a broken window, and water damage on the wall, and a big stain on the carpet, right? So start at the top, take an overview photo of this whole room. If you can't get it in 1 picture, take 2 pictures or 3 pictures, whatever it takes. Make sure you can see all the furniture and all that stuff that's in it. then take a picture of this water spot, and then I write down on my scope sheet, water spot on ceiling, it's however many square feet, popcorn texture, da 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 da, right? Then I go over here to this wall, and I probably scoped that broken window when I did my exterior inspection, but I might look to see that there's some wooden trim or like a sill, and then I'm going to take more pictures on the inside, and then get a picture of the damage on the wall, drywall, if there's texture on it or if it's smooth. And then I'm going to go to the floor and say, there's baseboard along here, and take a picture of that if it's got a stain on it. And then take a picture of this carpet, and if it looks like the carpet can be cleaned, then I'm going to shampoo the carpet, and I'm going to write that down on my thing. If it's not, then you may have to get a sample to send off to ITEL if you're going to replace all the carpet in the room. But by the time you've figured that out, you've written it down, taken your photo of it, there's nothing else left for you to do in this room because as you went, you took photos. If you want to get really ambitious, you can set up your laptop on a table or a countertop or something like that, and you can put it all into Sketch right there as you're doing it, so that by the time you walk out of the room, there's nothing else at all to do. You don't have to write anything up. And that's how I've been doing my interior stuff these days with water claims. And it really works really well because I can stand there and look around the room and be like, yep, I got everything. Or, oops, I forgot to put in, there's a chair rail across there or something like that. I forgot to put in something for that. I jump over here on my computer and put it in. But then I'm all done doing the inside. Don't forget to put something in for contents manipulation if you got furniture, a couch. It's a really awesome couch. If you have to paint all these walls, you may need to move all the stuff out of the room. If you need to replace the carpet, you definitely need to move everything out of the room. If you have if you've got some debris from drywall and stuff, you need to add some debris removal. Right? Pickup truck maybe. But other than that, in a nutshell, and about in about less than 10 minutes, I basically just told you guys how to scope an outside exterior and scope an interior, kind of the quick and dirty way. And if you're new and you don't have the access to a field support person or something like that, then this should be able to give you kind of a foundation that you can build off of, so that you can not flail around and then be walking in and outside, inside and outside, and doing like part outside, part inside, doing the floor and then doing the ceiling, and then go into a different room, do something, and then come back in here and do the walls. And you want to do everything in a systematic way. Is what this all really boils down to. So that's how you do that in a nutshell.
This is a Jester TV.